Welcome to this second video of how to write an apologetics card. I'm Caleb DeLon, the creator of BecomeThoroughlyEquipped.com and the author of Thoroughly Equipped, the Comprehensive Guide to Apologetics. And in these videos, I'm just showing you my process for writing an apologetics card, just raw footage, no preparation. You get to see exactly what I do. So the previous video ended a tad abruptly. I was just trying to figure out exactly what the historian Tacitus said about Christ, seeing if there's any specific quotes that I could include in this card. Now, looking over here, I don't see any specific information about what Tacitus says. However, I think it's good enough, the quote that I just pulled. This New Testament scholar summarizes what Tacitus said about that Jesus was crucified. And obviously, if Jesus was crucified, he had to logically exist first. So I think that's enough external evidence. Two examples should be pretty good, discussing Josephus and then discussing Tacitus. We've already discussed the biblical evidence. Let's look a little bit more at the evidence of the early church. No. May not be the right search term. No, that's an actual church building. That's not what we're wanting. Let's go back over here. This one had a good quote. I'm going to go look at that because often evidence of the resurrection, the existence of the early church is cited as evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. This is a good quote, not regarding the existence of the early church, but regarding the biblical evidence. F.F. Bruce is a famous theologian. Probably go figure out exactly his credentials. I think he's a scholar of either New Testament or Old Testament, prolific author. Yeah. New Testament scholar. Okay, here's another good quote. Now this appears to be by Josh McDowell. Yes, Evidence for the Resurrection by Josh McDowell. So this quote right here goes under Evidence of the Early Church. I'll just put it right here. He's the author of several different books. This one was Evidence for the Resurrection. Trying to figure out which of his books it's in, but I don't know, let me see. I'll just go to Wikipedia and see what he has written. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I'm just gonna cite him as the author of Evidence That Demands a Verdict. Although I'm not sure which particular book this quote comes from. He's fairly well known, thankfully. Okay. Okay, let's piece this all together. Example point 1 is the biblical evidence. The way we would tell the way scholars determine whether a document is historically reliable is, or actually I should say one way, because there are actually 3 tests: internal, external, and bibliographic, but the one that most concerns us right now is bibliographic, because we're assuming that the Bible doesn't contradict itself, and we're going on to look at the external test. The external evidence is by how many copies of, figure out how to phrase this. The biblical evidence is good evidence for the historical existence of Jesus because we have enough copies close enough to know that it was not fabricated. How many copies of the original autograph is the technical term we possess, and how close to the original those copies are, or how close, and how long after the original those copies were written. A document with many copies close to the original writing date is good evidence, while a document with few distant copies is much weaker evidence. It's just introducing the concept, and so we say, okay, so how does the Bible compare to other ancient documents, other reliable ancient documents, in the number of copies we have and the similarity of those copies. We have in the, actually we don't discuss similarity because we took that part out, so number of copies we have and the nearness. Okay, that would be good enough. I could, if I had all day, I would spend a little bit more time on that, but I don't have all day, and so I won't. So that's biblical evidence, discussing the first piece of evidence for the historical existence of Jesus. According to New Testament scholar F.F. Bruce, then I'm going to take that paragraph out. I don't think it's needed. Okay. Point 2, the external evidence. There are many non-Christian sources from the decades and centuries immediately after Christ's life that confirm the basic details about his life. And let's do life, death, and resurrection. Just a summary of what we're about to tell them. For some reason my bullet points changed from squares to circles. It's a bit strange. Anyway, one of these sources is Josephus. ancient Jewish historian Josephus. Me just let that open. Okay. I want to see whether they cite the specific. Yes, Josephus's Antiquities is the most well-known and most well-cited of his works. It's a little bit long, so for ease of looking. And the reason I'm using bullet points here is because when I'm looking down at a card, I don't want to have an entire paragraph of information. What I want to be able to do is look down at the card, read quickly scan just one bullet point, and be able to give the gist of it. So I look at this and see that. I read that point real quick. I glance down at the card, glance back up, and say, okay, there's many non-Christian sources from the years that came right after Jesus that confirm the basic details that we know about his life, his death, and his resurrection. Now, you can't tell, but I did all that not looking at the computer, just because I know the concept that's given here, and thus by having it in bullet point format, I'm able to say, okay, that is a complete thought, so figure out what that thought is, and then I'm able to deliver it. So I split the quote up because I don't want the entire quote together. Now, you do, of course, have to read a quote verbatim, and so that makes it a little bit harder, but that's the reason I use bullet points in general. So, Josephus' quote ends right there. Another ancient historian is I believe it was Roman. Yes, it's the 1st century Roman Tacitus. Yes. Need a little bit more information on him. For some reason, Tacitus is... Okay, so we can say Tacitus provides a non-Christian confirmation of Jesus' crucifixion. Well, highlighting isn't working. There we go. And of course, if Jesus was crucified, he first had to exist. Then we'll add this quote in here. Going to change the he to Jesus for clarity's sake. And I'm actually going to switch the places here of that quote and the summary there. So Tacitus says he was crucified, says Josephus and Tacitus both say he's crucified, and of course Jesus was crucified, he first had to exist. So that is the external evidence for the historical existence of Jesus. Okay, I'm going to pause here. The time's running out, so I hope this video was helpful, and be on the lookout for the next one, where we'll put some more information on the evidence of the early church, make it into a workable point, and then finalize the card, come up with an intro and a conclusion, and things like that. So, hope you all enjoyed it very much.